Hey guys, I'm Brian Chu from the Australian Gold Fund. I am at the inaugural Gold Coast Gold Conference and we're at QT. What I'm going to do is I will be interviewing a few people from bullion dealers, company executives, as well as also private investors. So let's check them out. Hey everyone, I'm at the Gold Coast Gold Conference and we just wrapped up our last day of proceedings. Now with me is Cameron Knezevic. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, as I say, a lot of people believe that gold is a grandparent's thing. It's an outdated asset. But what we believe now is that's not the case. And in fact, those who start early in saving in gold and spending in dollars are going to set themselves on a much easier path in life. Cameron is one example. Now, Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you learned about precious metals, and what woke you up to the idea that this could perhaps be a better path for you to build your wealth.
I first learned about precious metals through someone that my mum knew.
Yeah.
And exposed me to the concept of the fact that our currency system is obviously fiat.
Yeah.
Meaning, for people who don't know,
yeah.
Decree of the King is the translation.
Yes.
And it's a free floating asset, so there's nothing that backs it. There's nothing that actually gives it value other than us agreeing that it has value. And the fact that gold isn't that. Mike Maloney's videos, which you should watch, are very good. They explain the concept of the Federal Reserve, the dollar, the way that bonds and stuff like that work, and the difference between that and gold and silver.
What's the name of the series, just to remind everyone?
It's The Hidden Secrets About Money. Yeah.
The Hidden Secrets of Money. Yeah.
I'm glad I remember that. And then delving a little bit deeper into the concept of like the Federal Reserve with the creature from Jekyll Island and things like that. I think that the important thing to note for young people is that you had a slide up today that said, compared to 1990, to have the exact same wage to be able to buy a house as today, you need $400,000. Now, I don't know many jobs for people under the age of 35.
I'm not even making anything close to that at the moment in my job.
Yeah, correct. I just don't see property as the stepping stone anymore. I think you can. There's nothing wrong with having that as your end goal. I think having a house that you can have security in, you're not going to get kicked out by landlords, stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But you're not going to enter that market with that being your first step. And I think for us as young people, we need to get rid of the idea that property is the only way forward, and we need to be more savvy. The fact that you need $400,000 as an equivalent means that we need to be looking in other places. And unfortunately, in Australia, we have a culture of property is the only way, and people don't even have. It's like they've got goggles on. There's no horizon to look at other things like stocks and stuff, but they're still all in system. I think the beautiful thing about gold and silver is not only can you start with literally $4, but it's also out of system. So there's a level of security with it too. Now, all of this is cyclical. There's been periods of time in the 20th century where gold was going down, but the current markets, they're going up. So it's a good time to be getting into it and using that as your stepping stone. But I think it, more than anything, it's just our mindsets towards investing. And for people who are looking towards their future and planning for things like that, I think it's important to reject the mindset of property is the only thing and explore other options like precious metals.
So among your friends when you became aware of this and you told your friends about it, how did you get them to think like it, to be aware of what you're aware of, and what were their reactions after you showed them, you shared your knowledge with them?
Yeah, I think delivering the concept that everything you've been taught in school is a lie, to be honest. That's the only way to put it, in terms of the currency system being a Ponzi scheme, definitionally. It is really hard to get someone to accept at the end of the day, because you're breaking a worldview. And I think the easiest way to do it, I literally sat my friends down. I said, we're watching this video series, Mike Maloney's video series. I said, we're watching it. And I would pause when they wouldn't understand things and I help explain things. And by the end of it, they're sitting there like, what the hell, like what's going on? And I think that, you know, being able to show them something that is professionally made, and because a lot of this stuff, some people call it conspiracy theorists, and it's hard to get rid of that label once it's on.
Yes.
But being able to show them something that is concrete and they can research further, and then allowing them to kind of plant the seed and it grows, and from there just supporting them how you can, really. So that's what I did with my mates, and their minds were blown at the start, and then they started to realise that there's opportunity in it too, and that it is a positive. But the hardest part is just getting the message out to young people, really. So yeah.
So you have worked a bit in construction after finishing high school, and what type of experience was it like? Was it very busy and a lot of work, lots of turnover? And how did you make a transition out of construction into where you're at right now? I believe you're working in a bullion company.
Yeah, I was, and I'm looking at getting back into it. I was in construction, and the period in time, it was actually when it was during COVID, a lot of the builders were going under.
Yes.
And even some of the people I know that have been in the industry for decades and done very well, they were shocked because a lot of these big name companies that have been building houses for decades, they're just going belly up, and it's like, what's going on? And
it's supposed to be a huge property boom, and there's these companies going under. That's a very strange type of situation to be in. Yeah,
correct. And noticing that a lot of the people that have been in construction for a long time, just they couldn't understand why. Like they would blame costs of materials and things like that.
Well, that is true.
Where did that come from, though? And like obviously during COVID, there was a lot to be said about that in terms of why. But at the end of the day, the whole problem, I believe, stems from the monetary system being fake and based on nothing. And then from there, I left that. I got into sales because I wanted to explore that area. And then that's when I found out about obviously bullion and all that stuff. And then I just literally applied at a bullion dealer and got a job, and just kept learning a lot more about all that stuff.
Cameron, I'm actually quite amazed by the knowledge that you possess. And when we asked you whether you went to university, you said you didn't. But what you're telling us at the moment is stuff that you would not learn even in university economics, and that I think is a huge point to make about what types of things we're learning. And you pointed out there are things which we just aren't told, and we have to dig deeper into it for ourselves. So Cameron, where would you suggest people start once they get an understanding of the hidden secrets of money, what else would you say they would read or dig deeper to find out more?
Yeah, definitely The Creature from Jekyll Island, because it's integral to understanding how the system keeps going, because there's a lot of questions that you have when if it's a Ponzi scheme, why is it still going? So that allows you to understand how it's been propped up, and even though there's some people say 30-year cycles of a currency, the currency will literally die, but then it keeps going because it's propped up by different moves that the reserve banks will make. And then really, I would just say contact a bullion dealer. You don't have to buy anything at first, but it is also important to understand it's not a complicated process. It's actually very easy. And just have a conversation with them, because at the end of the day, you're going to have questions that it is hard to get answers to, because you don't even know if you're asking the right questions. So I do feel like it's best to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. So just contact a bullion dealer, have a conversation, and go from there.
Okay, well, Cameron, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, you're never too young to start on gold. Cameron's actually made a very good decision in life, and he's going to be ahead, I believe, ahead of many of the people at his age. Now, if you like this video, click the link below, subscribe, and God bless. I'll see you soon.